Okay, we are back again with another drawing video. This will be part 2 or B, whatever you want to call it, of this drawing. And yeah, we're back at it. So, as you can see, I've overall finished with the head for now. So I'm just trying to shrink it down and trying to draw a body to go with it. I know, just like trying to figure out what pose to put it in and how I want it to look, I guess. I don't know. Just sketching out a body. I kind of wanted it to be like the head like looking down, but as you can see I didn't like the way that was going, so I reset it. And I thought, well, maybe if I do it standing up, because initially I wanted it to be slumped over, but then I was like, I'm not liking this. And then as you can see I didn't like that idea either, so I reset again. Um, then I said, well, maybe I could do like a protruding neck, make it longer. But then I felt that was off, so I'm just like trying different ways to turn the head. So then I literally turned the head. I said, okay, there you go. It was like maybe it could be like an ostrich or something. I don't know, but a head of a crow, but a body of an ostrich. But then I was like, well, if I give it that, I just might as well turn it into some sort of like machine. And then that didn't work, as you could see. I'm just like getting frustrated. So I shrunk the head even more because I felt like I was too zoomed in and there wasn't enough space for the body to play in. And then I had the brilliant idea. I was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm gonna do with this. Um, to fit the theme of the crow, I was like, what better way to represent the crow than make it into a scarecrow? Because I love scarecrows. Um, so I figured out I'll just make like a raggedy looking, torn up scarecrow. And the ironic part is the scarecrow was wearing a crow mask because the crows are supposed to be afraid of the scarecrows. That's the whole point of a scarecrow, to keep the birds away from the crops and stuff. So yeah, I went with this idea. So I was like, I'm just gonna draw it like hanging, um, but it's gonna be worn and torn, this rags, whatever the heck it is. So I made like a hole on the side of its body to represent, like, that it's been worn and torn and messed up. Because we still don't, in my head, we still don't know what the heck this thing is. If it's a human or what. Because you could see from the head, it looks very organic, but um, there's obviously something in there. Not just what they stuff scarecrows with, straw or hay, whatever. It's more than just that. So maybe it was once a human. It obviously has real eyes, so it's got to be something like that. So then I'm just trying to position the head more because I want it hanging down, the head, slumped over. And then I'm just trying to outline the body. And then I started getting ideas like, well, if I'm gonna have a torn hole in the rags that it's wearing, what could be underneath it? And I started coming up with some ideas. And as you can see, I'm just throwing in some color and shadows. And trying to figure out where I can go with this. I love scarecrows. Just think it's a cool concept idea. I know they don't people don't use them today in modern times. I'm pretty sure they have like all kinds of different machinery and stuff to like keep the birds and stuff away. But it was just so cool. At one point in time, they had to use these alternative means to like stop them. So as you can see, I'm just like giving it more clothes and like a collar for the head. I'm just trying to put some more shadows and define the body. I didn't want to make it like a straight. I wanted to body out like a silhouette. I wanted to make it like it's been pushed around and torn, and now it's just being hung up on. I guess I'm gonna probably draw like a pole, a hook or something. I don't know. As you can see, I'm looking for brushes for texture. I have so many brushes I don't use. I need to start messing with brushes more. Um, just throwing out the shadows and trying to give it that dirty, weathered look. But yeah, scarecrows. I love them. What can I say about them more? My favorite Batman villain is the Scarecrow. I used to love him from the animated series. Um, just like anytime you see a scarecrow in things like Wizard of Oz or whatever, scarecrows are just cool. And this is my twist on a scarecrow because, like, in the traditional sense, you got like the raggedy face and the hat and all that. But I was like, oh, I'll do my version of it, give it a little different flavor. There you go. I'm just trying to do more outlines to the body, shadow. Uh, yeah, usually when I don't know what to do next, I just start doing shadows and lighting, just like so I'm like trying to think on the side what to do as I'm because I gotta see it more, I gotta see what I'm doing. I'll get lost in one of my ideas if I don't make things more bold. So I'm trying to like emphasize that the head is sticking out of the shoulders more, adding more highlights and shadows and tone. Um, I didn't like the top, so I thought I'd give it more texture, like more grooves and shapes. That's the fun thing about making like clothes and outfits like this. You could just really play with the folds, and nothing's ever final when it comes to digital. Everything can change on the fly. That's what I love about digital. And then I'm just doing more highlights and trying to get the shape better. And I really like these little curves that I'm making as I'm looking at it right now because it's like really giving it that depth. More shadows. There's the highlights. Just trying to get some sort of form on it. And then I'm playing with the color more. So right here I copied the layer, I duplicated it. Not that I'm restarting the whole body. I'm duplicating the layer so So there could be two separate layers, the collar and the body. See, I'm erasing the collar now for this for the second layer. That way I could play around with the color if need be. Because I really like the color of the collar, but I was starting to get sick of that body color. So as you can see, I'm toning it down more and giving it more of a bluish wash. Then I'm saying, well, let me see what the collar looks like with different colors. Like, nah, I really like the color the way I just did it. And that's how I'll lower the head a little bit more. Like it's really on its last limb. And like I think I've said in previous video, like I really love the fact that I can just change the color of something because I'll get sick of looking at stuff for a hot minute. Like this second video of this part of the drawing was another I think 5 hours. And like I said, when you're staring at these things for a while, you just get tired of the same thing, so you have to change it up. Here I'm drawing it more like his neck. I was thinking more of maybe he's like more mechanical inside. So I started drawing these little colors of like maybe this could be like tubes or wiring from the inside. It's like, yeah, it's a cool concept of making it organic and machine. And there's that little that little thing I do where I like to make like tubes of metal or machinery. I always draw those little lines. Maybe they could be interpreted as thread or whatever, but I always like to think of it as like metal, especially if you do highlights on it. Or it could be worms if you're looking at it. Hey, it's a worm. Why is there worms sticking out of him? But to me, it's like I think it's like metal tubing or something. Just a stylized, unpractical way of making machinery. Because, you know, if in today, if you had a robot or whatever, a machine like that, you wouldn't be seeing all those tubes sticking out everywhere. But, you know, I grew up reading comics from the 90s and 80s and stuff, and one of the big things in the 90s that a lot of comic book artists did was they used pouches everywhere, all over the characters' bodies. Like Rob Liefeld, the comic book artist, he's infamous for making pouches, like over excessive pouches everywhere. If you know him, he was the creator of Deadpool and X-Force, and then he went on to do Image with the other Image founders. But he was known for his over exaggeration of pouches. But another thing you would also see in comics were these tubings, these metal tubings. You would see them all the time. Like the characters would have all these guns attached to their body, like giant guns on guns, and tubings and wiring and metal, and just a crazy amount. Like you think of the Marvel character Deathlock, like he had like tubing and metal. He like you know, was it Metal Eddie from Iron Maiden or something? But just like that 80s 90s style of machinery. Um, so I've always stuck with that in my head. So you see, as you can see, I'm duplicating the wires and turning them around to give more depth in the background. Like it's really connected together. And some of them didn't work right when I turned them. So I'm having to erase some of them. And for the back ones, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make them darker if I remember here. I'll probably get ahead of myself, but yeah, to give it more shadow, I'd make it darker, just to give it more depth. So now I have like multiple layers. I have like the robe, the clothes. I have the collar. I have the metal tubing. And now I'm playing with shadows and like trying to make it, coherent. Then I was struggling with the top of the collar, like how open do I want that collar? how big do I want it sticking out? So I was messing around with that. As you could see, just messing around with more lighting and stuff. Toning it down. And then I got sick of doing that, I guess. And I started thinking, well, let me give it more of a overall, let me give more to the inside, like maybe like can make it make more sense. So I started thinking like, would it be cool if like this was a human, or so it's got some sort of skeletal structure to it. So I started drawing like a rib cage and a spinal cord, and I don't know about you, but if you've ever drew a skeleton, you would find out really quick that the hardest part of drawing a skeleton is the ribs. Like, the ribs could get really weird really fast. Uh, as you can see, I erased and started over, and I was like, trying to draw this spinal cord, and these ribs make them look more sense. And like I said, they don't have to be perfect, especially at the angle that the character's in that I'm drawing. It's more like turned to the side. So it's like, it doesn't have to be perfect. See, I'm trying to shrink it down because maybe I think it's too big at that point. And shading and lighting go a long way. So there I'm just trying to get the sizes right, what I think they should look like. So I didn't want them sticking out too big. Then I figured, okay, I'll draw them. These bones, maybe I'll do them like a metal color, because maybe his bones are made of metal as well. Because I could have went with like a beige or a light brown for actual bones, but then I was like, maybe I should do a metal, like the wires in the mask. So there I am, just going for it. Like I said, when it comes to drawing a skeletal body, especially the ribs, you could get lost really fast in the shapes and shadows till it turns into a big mess. But if you're subtle enough with it, depending on how you light it, it could look decent to realistic. And obviously this is not realistic, this whole character. And it's more of like an exaggeration of stuff from my head or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that one, but yeah. So, yeah, just working on these ribs, and like I said, you just gotta be real careful not to overdo it, because then it just gets all jumbled up and looks weird or off. And I'm just trying to see where the lighting would be for the ribs to be underneath the clothing and the lighting, the shadows. I'm playing around with that, and it's not much more I could say about it. I just, just playing with the lighting. Obviously, if you're using, when you're working with your brushes and you have, a low opacity and flow, you could overlap colors like if you were actually painting. So you could drag the darker color on top of the light and then run the light color over the dark, and sometimes it's like a wave. It's like you're pushing your colors left and right, up and down, overlapping and trying to find that gradient, that smooth gradient between the two, you know, dark and light hues, whatever you want to call it. And that's what I'm doing, just playing with that back and forth. As you'll see, some of it gets dark, then some of it gets pushed back up into a lightness. Just trying to find that nice balance. And, just trying your best to achieve that look, that smooth look that, your eye would tend to think it has. This is kind of like the not so exciting part of the video, I think. Just messing back and forth with the shadows. And this could take up to like 20 minutes in my case sometimes, just like trying to get it right in my head, what I think looks right. And then I'm like, okay, I think I'm okay with that for now. Let me go touch on something else. So I'll jump to the spine. And I'm sure that doesn't look properly aligned either. But that's okay because I plan on filling this little area up, as you'll see. So it doesn't look too bad. Because maybe the spine's in the wrong position. Maybe it's not turned the way it's supposed to be turned from that angle. I don't know. But we could always hide it. Because like I always said, you fake it till you make it. You'll see that soon enough here. As I'm going through. Just trying to get all those shadows out. The whole process can be tedious. Trust me, I know. And like as you can see, I'm constantly having to zoom out because sometimes I get lost into what I'm looking at for so long that I need to zoom out to get a perspective of where I'm going with it. And there I am just playing with different textures and seeing what works. Like I'm not at this point I'm not sure where the light source will hit these um vertebrae, whatever you want to call them, because I plan on putting things in between them and around them. So I'm just trying to get a general sense of where the light would be and then go from there. Like I said, this part's not so exciting, but in the end it'll be worth it, I would think. And then there's the big old hip bone. Gotta draw the hip bone, sticking out the side. Like I say, none of this is perfect. But if you work with it just enough, you can get the illusion off pretty well. Yeah, I'm just going for it, huh? I don't even. It's dangerous because like this one little touch of too much brightness, and you have to like complement everything along with it. So just putting that one little touch of white on the edge of the hip bone, I had to do that on the side of the vertebrae, and I'm probably gonna have to do that with the ribs as well. I don't know. We'll see right now. I forget what I'm doing when I'm drawing and I'm in the zone. I just forget. So I'm reacting as I'm rewatching the video. You don't want to do it too like over the top. Just want to make a subtle bright spot on the side. Right there I'm debating if I should keep that whole thing darked out or what. I don't even know. Because once again, I have like 5 things I want to get to in my head before I forget. So I have to make these quick decisions. And then here I am taking the same old uh, metal scratches that I used for the face mask. Just taking a piece of one of those on another layer. And I'm spinning it and twisting it and trying to stick it on the bones to give it that metal finish as well. And the fastest way to do that one is just erase around the areas that don't have the bone, obviously. As you can see, I'm erasing around those sides. And erasing all that extra stuff on the layer that I don't need. Then repeating the process again for the vertebrae, the spine, and the hip bone. Just erasing all the excess that I don't need. And like I said, this detail you probably won't even see it from that far off when it's all said and done, but just knowing that it's there, I guess helps, makes a difference. Just trying to tone it down. Naming the layers so I don't forget which layer has which scratches of it on, so I don't overlap them to the final very end where I merge everything together. So here's the fun part when you start creating weird stuff. So I was like, okay, so I want to make this like biological and mechanical, so I'm gonna put like some weird components in there and make it look like it's a machine, sort of, half machine or whatever. So here I'm just making up random patterns and things, like just trying to see what would it look like if there were some like, metal parts in there and gadgets or whatever. And it doesn't, obviously the squares, the lines don't have to be perfect. And then here I'm trying to make like I don't know what you would call this, like a rivet or something, or what do you, a screw or I don't know, a bolt, something. Um, I'm just doing it so fast, like I don't even have time to make it look perfect, because all those circles are pretty piled on top of each other, crooked, and I'm just like, I'm shading them in such a lazy, fast way. I'm just like, whatever. I just want to get something on there to get an idea where I'm going with it and take it from there. And maybe at the end of the, well, whatever, when I'm done trying to accomplish that, you'll see what I mean. So I'm just working on these little grooves and stuff, like if it was like a screw or something sticking out, adding light to it and shadows again. It's all about lights and shadows, just playing, with the hues and seeing what works. Then I just grab it, duplicate it, spin it around, increase the size a little bit because I thought it was too small. Throw some shadows on the side of it, like, the light's being blocked out from that side of the square. Like I said, none of this has to be perfect. I mean, you could get real technical with this and really make some straight lines, but I don't really think it's necessary when working with stuff like this. Like I said, you could get real technical with it, but it doesn't bother me. So there I am, just trying to get some shadows done again, and you'll see when it's all put together where it kind of makes more sense. Because I don't know what this is, but I think it looks kind of cool for what I'm doing. Just going with the flow and seeing what comes out. And just doing little things like this, a little piece, it could take up to like 20 plus minutes or so, or a little bit more, maybe 30, who knows? I forget, but it takes a while. You get lost and stuff like this. That's why you gotta be careful. But at the same time, when you put it all together and you zoom out, it makes a big difference. You'll see. There I am just like trying to figure out what if it's too much light, should I do more shadowing, more highlights? Um, Zooming out to get a perspective again, duplicating it, and then I'm just messing with it, seeing where I could stick this on, where it makes more sense. I tested the size of it. I didn't like it, so I just reset it. I think I'm creating another layer, duplicate layer or something. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm doing right here. Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. I'm gonna put some scratches on this thing as well. So I grab one of the. You can see that's the rib cage and the vertebrae scratches. I'm just grabbing one of those and taking a chunk out of that. As you can see, just this is such a lazy way of doing it, but I just want to, make something quick. Just grabbing pieces of it, sticking it on top of each other to give it that illusion. I think I'm cloning it right there because I just got so lazy at just cloning what I see on top of it. And then erasing some parts of the scratches to line up with the shadows. Very light erasing too. Like when I'm erasing right here, I decrease the flow and the opacity, so I'm like really lightly erasing those edges to bring back all the highlights. Just very light erasing. Then once I like it, then I stick it in there. Trying to find a nice spot for it. Once again, there's no plans for any of this. I'm just seeing what works. Duplicating it, of course, but I want to put one in the back, give it more depth, and turn it a little bit. And then once I found a good spot where I think they two of them could go, I start putting shadows in between each one to like, make it stand out more and make it feel like it's inside or behind the the bones, whatever. I'm fixing up that little circle because I didn't like the way it came out on the other one. Adding more shadows. And then here, what am I doing here? Am I making another piece or something? Yeah, I'm making another piece. Just random cylinders and pipes, whatever comes to my brain. Just testing things out. Like, obviously, if I don't like it, I could just start over and try something else, but I guess I'm going with this pattern. Trying to get the highlights down. Like I say, it doesn't have to be perfect. None of these lines have to be perfect. Make it like it's like a, a, a tube coming out of another tube, and then I guess it's resting on that little triangle. I don't know. Just trying different things. Like I said, just doing this little piece right here could take about 20 minutes of trying to figure something out. And then when I try to put it over there, it could fall apart, and I could just restart. Like, "Oh, I don't like this," and there's like 20 minutes gone out the window. But thankfully, I used this piece, whatever the heck it was that I was making in my head. I ended up using it, so that's the plus to that. But yeah, here I am just fleshing it out more. hoping that it makes sense in the grand scheme of things. That little light touch of bright white can overpower it real quick, so you have to like compensate for it and wash it down and bring it back. It's like I say, it's a push and pull thing when you're working with shadows and lights. You're constantly pulling and pushing back. Then there I am grabbing some more scratches to add to that, toning it down, erasing the excess fat off of it that I don't need. There you go. And then pasting it together and trying to find a spot for this. Increasing it, turning it, putting it behind like it's part of it. And then once I find a good spot for it, I could add shadows in between it and the other component to make it seem like it's blended more together. Then I'm like testing all the layers, just flipping them on and off to see what's working and what's not. And then once I have a good idea, like, okay, this is cool. I like this. This works for like an interior structure. I'll probably add more in the next video. Um, I haven't got around to drawing it yet as of this recording. So then I'm also drawing the back of the cloth or the clothes, the inner side. So darkening it up a bit, you know. Try to match the color from the outside, but for the inside to make it feel like it's coming, like it's sticking out. You can see the inside of the back, whatever. Just making sure all the layers are right. And then yeah, I'm cleaning up these little edges right here of the torn part, and I decided to add highlights to them. So you could differentiate, how do you differentiate? I can't say the word. So you could distinguish the front from the back. Because if I would have left it all black, it would be kind of hard to tell where the front was sticking out of. As you can see, I'm like doing little cross hatching to make it seem like it's part of like it was like a fiber or cloth or whatever material. Just doing little tiny cross hatching that you probably won't even tell, but maybe you will in the overall. Just trying to get that highlight in there so you could differentiate between the front and the back of the clothes, the robe, whatever. And yeah, there you go. There's more what I was trying to accomplish. Adding some more highlights. I can see I gotta erase more of the scratches they're sticking out on the sides there. Putting more shadows in there. But yeah, this video is coming to an end. I'll start working on part 3 or C or whatever. And I'll let this video finish playing out. Um, Thanks for watching and see you on the next one.